Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Daniel McQueen, and I'm the Executive Director of Medicinal Mindfulness and part of the crew that's put on today. I'm really grateful for you all being here, and we have a wonderful day scheduled. Before we begin, I'd really just like to thank Boulder Theater and the crew of Boulder Theater for really showing up and helping us set up today. It's been a lot of work on their end, and I'm really appreciative of their help. We'd like to dedicate this day to the Great Mother and the plant spirit allies and all those who are here to support us on this earth journey to healing and awakening. And just so we're clear that we're a spiritual community as much as we are an activist community, as much as we are a healership community. So I'm going to take just a few minutes to talk about what today is about, and then we'll start the day with the student panel. So the first thing I'd like to share with you is what is Psychedelic Shine. And to me, it's a celebration and a community gathering. It's an excuse to bring these communities together and to celebrate the successes of our movement, of the consciousness movement. And instead of thinking that this is some sort of future orientation or something we have to fight for, that we are already living a psychedelic society in many ways. And our intention is to acknowledge that and to support the movement of more people turning towards that. It's also what we call a community intervention, and that our community has been shamed by society for our interest, and we've been completely misunderstood. So we're shifting the shame to shining the light on our community, and that is everything from the good, the bad, the ugly. We can't shine a light on just some things and not other things. So we're stepping out and saying yes to being out, and that we're okay. We're really okay doing this work and having this interest. I'd like to also name that we're not the only ones here who are watching this today. We are going to put this on YouTube and spread this message as far as we can. So I'm not just speaking to you here today, but I'm also speaking for those who are in other areas of the country or in other countries who are feeling super isolated and alone. And I want you to know that you're not alone, and that it is possible to grow into events like these in many, many places. And so this is a call to action and a beacon. And to me, today is also something we've been working for many years. So it is an ignition switch. But sometimes when I do this work, I get unusual words in my head to describe how I'm feeling inside. And the word that keeps coming to me when I've been talking with Dr. McKenna, really getting ready for this, getting to know him, and I feel emboldened. And it's a word I don't normally use, so I'd like to share that with you. The idea is to inspire, motivate people to do this work, to embolden you, to provide and amplify the courage that it takes to show up in these ways in a world that doesn't quite get it yet. So Psychedelic Shine is also an image, and we work with this idea, we call it the Psychedelic Compass. This was a name given this idea to by the CU Psychedelic Club. They're presenting this, but our experiences, there's 4 primary paradigms of medicine use: spiritual and religious uses, psychological and healing uses. And we want to really acknowledge that it's okay to play in these spaces, to celebrate, to create, to do art and music. And then there's a huge tradition in our community of scientific exploration and discovery, and medicines being used for complex creative problem solving, right? So this structure of Psychedelic Shine, the structure of the day, and also the presentations, really we're intending to promote all aspects of medicine. But today we're going to talk about this idea of what does it mean to migrate to a psychedelic-inspired paradigm on a global level. What would it take to do that? And to me, it really takes just a lot of hard work in doing events like these again, again, and again. But one of the things that I like to do is imagine what it would be like to live in a future where psychedelics are accepted. And this is Molly. She's a character that I created in my head and had a friend draw up for me. But she's someone who lives in the future already in a world that psychedelics are open, legal, and she grew up in this place. She was born in it. And I would like to, one day be an elder and continue to use these medicines in an intentional way. And that there's a space for this. There's a space for this in our community. So that's one thing, is actually imagining what's it like to live in a psychedelic culture. What would that be like? And to me, it really creates some interesting ideas in my head. One of the things that I think we need to acknowledge to live into a psychedelic culture in the future is to acknowledge the shadow of our movement, that these are incredibly powerful tools, and they're not always used for the best reasons. And our government has proven that again and again. And that some of the ideas or inspirations that have come out of it have caused harm. And so if we can acknowledge that, we can address it and create is it okay to say a moral foundation, at least to explore, consider, or talk about, As a psychotherapist and a healer and a guide and a facilitator of these events, I work with a lot of people who are interested in this profession. They've had a big experience and they're not quite sure what to do with it. And a lot of people jump head first into big processes. And I would like to recommend this idea of living into something, growing into something, that you don't need to do something you're not ready for. That your first experience doesn't need to be an ayahuasca trip to Peru or something like that, that there are lots of options for you to get to know these spaces and not overwhelm yourself. And that my experience is you don't have to force the big transformations, that they come when you're ready. And so taking small steps. This is another image that I had created by my friend, and just being a guardian and a protector of those who are really striving for these big experiences and saying, when you're ready, and the lion's actually the spirit totem of cannabis sativa, another beautiful psychedelic. So in speaking to not just you, but to the larger global community, I'd like to provide some suggestions and recommendations, ways to live. So a lot of people have big awakening experiences, and they wake up in jobs that they don't like anymore, or even relationships that are not as supportive as they thought they were. And so the idea is to really take your time with these transitions and not jump to big decisions. That we actually need people in our community who have professional careers that wouldn't normally be associated with psychedelics. There's a shift moving from individual journey work and experiences to community journey work and experiences, and creating programs, right? Something that is ongoing, has longevity and sustainability. And so example is Psychedelic Shine. It's like there's no way one person could do this work. It took a very large number of people. Oops. Okay, yeah, here we are. And then I really like this idea of exemplifying what psychedelic society means to you with your life today. And Stan Groff uses the term holotropic, talk about breath work and this movement towards wholeness, and that you're not going to step into the type of society that we want in a psychedelic society by acting from this paradigm. What does psychedelic society mean to you? Is it ecology? Is it being kind? Is it compassion? Is it mindfulness practice? Is it how you are in the world? So my recommendation is really not to sacrifice yourself to the movement, to these grand ideas, but to step into them and be with people to support you on these journeys. these are some of the edges that I've really starting to see come out. And so these are areas that people could start stepping into in other locations. Microdosing is really taking fire, and I know a lot of people who are experimenting with that. I would expect to see research studies come out. There's some book at the Boulder bookstore table on microdosing. The psilocybin research programs coming out are really wonderful. Dr. McKenna's work with the Hefter Institute is really starting to pay off. Harm reduction at festivals is a great need in our community, and so we really are looking for like armies of medical and mental health professionals to go in there and support people on all of these smaller venues that may not have the support that the large international festivals can have. And then cannabis legalization is an important one for me, is that like I'm really seeing this trend of openness into psychedelics because of interest in cannabis. Then Dr. McKenna talks about this, but we're seeing this kind of recolonization of the medicines themselves. They're taking over. Ayahuasca has escaped from the jungle. Cannabis is being legalized, I think in 75% of the country's population right now in some way. And then the biggest edge I see is we have everything we need. We know how to do everything. We have the vision. We have the ideas. It's about manifesting. It's about creating on the grassroots level. And so I really want to support grassroots movements, decentralized movements, and it creates a lot of resilience. And the Psychedelic Club, who will be speaking later today, is creating this network for the country. So not everybody has access to be able to do legal research or be part of psychedelic programs in that scientific container. So the first one is, again, living into being holotropic, practicing the skill sets of psychedelic society of the future by doing the work today. And it's not illegal to show a movie. It's not illegal to have a book club. It's not illegal to have small presentations. We started out at Shine Restaurant, and we'll be back there again doing the work ongoing over there, right? So what does it look like to have local, decentralized communities and to practice the skill sets? This is something that our community has a tendency to jump over, is practice and training and things. We're very mercurial in that way. Another area, I don't know what this quite looks like for the Psychedelic Society, but if you have a business skill set or a professional skill set, how can you translate it to this movement? Instead of dropping it and becoming a healer, what does it look like to transform that skill set into something that can be supportive? And I'll talk a little bit about this in my speech later today, but we need professional support in a lot of areas that I personally don't have the skill sets in. And then my favorite one is to find a legal edge and explore the possibilities there, right? So using the laws in ways that weren't quite they were designed for, but still legal. And our work with cannabis as a psychedelic uses the retail laws, recreational laws to do our work. So it's a kind of a different way of doing activism. But we've also taken people, whole groups, to Native American church peyote ceremonies, which are legal in Colorado. In these contexts, people are taking tours to Peru for ayahuasca and other medicines. So there might be something in your area that I can't see, and nobody else can see because we're not in your area, that you can explore the possibilities around. So, and it usually there's something about being guided by spirit in these ways. You just follow these threads, and it shows us something pretty important. These last two slides, wasn't quite sure to include them, but I think I would like to talk briefly about it. And this is, for me, the medicine path isn't just about doing medicines. It's about integrating the vision, integrating the inspiration, the ideas into a physical manifestation, a physical form. So in some ways, we're like a snake. We're moving into these higher dimensional spaces, receiving understanding or ideas, but then we don't stay there. We don't just spiral and loop in that space or just keep going back. The idea is, how do we ground it in? And that's our movement forward, grounding it in. And in this space, and moving forward, we come up against edges and things that we need support around or understanding around, so we go back into the medicine space and get clarity of vision again and ground it in again. And that this is a path that is continually rising to something, I don't quite know what yet, but we want to name that we're not doing this in isolation, that we're part of this incredible field of energy and process and society and dynamics that have a place that respond to our manifesting, and then we have to respond to it. So there's this terrain all around us that in some ways is invisible but still very real. And that there are energetic barriers between us and what we're striving to accomplish. So to think that it would be easy or that you're always going to be in a flow state is incorrect. That there are incredibly difficult moments in this work, and that there are skill sets that you can learn from the medicine or mindfulness to engage them and break through them, and that this work is a series of breaking through boundaries to consciousness and freedom. One of our primary jobs now is to translate this transformational process from an individual experience in your bedroom, in your living room, on a Saturday night, or whatever you're doing, into a community and societal one. What does that look like? And we don't know. We don't have all the answers to it. But again, we're following these threads, and we're at this place where we're able to put a beacon out, and people are showing up. So something's happening. I don't know exactly what yet. But I do know that images will play a vital role in shaping our culture. This is our new image for medicinal mindfulness. It's got the 4 cardinal directions in it. A green triangle symbolizing pride and medicine work, and also setting and skill. And then also the lion symbolizes the courage that you need to look at something that you have a deep feeling that it's looking back at you. That takes courage to stay in that space. We also are proponents of stepping into our future in an intentional way and creating our future. And recognizing that for whatever reason, that this is a deeply sacred process for most people who are involved in it. So as this is a 2-dimensional image expressing a higher dimensional process, Psychedelic Shine is an image expressing an even more complex process. And that this will translate into a mindset, way of being that might inspire us all to engage the world just a little bit different and in a way that supports awakening and healing, not just for us, but for all people. So I'd like to really thank you for showing up. I'd like to thank Dennis for being here and making this happen. He's really the fire around all of this. And thank all our volunteers who are here to help. So thank you so much for coming.